Hi everyone, and welcome to the FCS Express Security System webinar. My name is Daniel Zimmerman. I'm the Chief Technical Officer at Novo Software, and I'm going to walk you through some of the features of the FCS Express Security System and talk about how we support the 21 CFR Part 11 features and help you get your work done in a secure environment. These are some of the highlights of what we're going to be talking about today. The Part 11, of course, how we do secure logins into FCS Express. I'm going to show you a little bit of how FCS Express can give you control over every action in the program. You'll be able to block actions from being performed on gates, on plots, or on the program in general. We'll look at how the security can be configured. We'll look at a little bit about how FCS Express stores audit trails and sets up electronic signatures and lets you create your own security policies. If you have questions during the course of the webinar, let me flip back here, you can type them into the question and answer box that's in your GoToWebinar control panel. And either Kea, who's helping out and will answer the questions that as you're typing them in, or I'll incorporate them into the webinar. So feel free to ask anything that comes to mind as we go through the webinar. So the security system in FCS Express is how we'll support you in implementing the FDA's 21 CFR Part 11 and all of the features that we provide to put you in a Part 11 compliant environment. And on our website, we have several pages and documents that describe that. And on our main, the key page here is the CFR Part 11 page. It describes what Part 11 is and what kind of things are included in the solution. So you can see that FCS Express will implement security, access limitations, audit trails, electronic signatures, and a lot more. Now we have a specific compliance matrix that we've included and given you access to on our website. If I click on the link, it'll take me to a PDF file which describes in detail every step of Part 11 compliance and how FCS Express will help you implement it. So for example, some of the things that are required are authority checks, and in FCS Express you can of course use username and password credentials, right down to things like password aging, where you can implement your own procedures for how long passwords can be in use for. And these pages go in detail of what all of the features are, what they do. As you are looking at implementing FCS Express in your environment, it's a good idea to go through some of the details and understand more of what it can do for you. What I'm going to do now is show you specifically things about the security system and how to log in and how to set up permissions, and you'll have a chance to ask any questions as I go through that. Okay, so what I've done on this analysis, this introductory page is actually part of an FCS Express layout, and I've put in a simple analysis too. And so as the page flips, you can see that there's some plots, some gates, summary tables, and so on right over here. Okay, and we'll come back to this in just a second. First thing I'm going to do next is exit out of the program and then log back in so you can see how you log in. So when FCS Express starts up, you can see the splash screen that tells you what edition you're using. So we're using the IVD edition, and then it'll go to, if you have security configured, it'll go to a login screen. In the login, you'll type your password. And a new feature in version 5 is, of course, if you forgot your password, it will reset it and email you the reset password. For now, I'm just going to log in, and apparently I entered an invalid password. So let's see if the default still works. Admin and password. And of course, that's the default when FCS Express ships, and of course, you can change that at any time. Come back to open the security overview and look at the analysis page here. So as I was saying before, every action in the program can be controlled by a security switch. You can control whether you're allowed to load layouts, save layouts, move gates, and so on. And there's two ways to set these up. You can set up permissions on layouts or on individual users. And I'll show you a little bit of both. When we go under the File menu to Security, there are several choices in Security. Let's look at the security group definition, and this lets us create a group for users. And just for the sake of argument right now, I'm going to create a group and pretty much not let it do anything. This group will be named No Rights, and the description will be you are not able to create layouts. And in the list of permissions, I'm going to allow the person to log in and nothing else. Now note that I can set up permissions here by allowing people to do everything that's checked or everything except what's checked. And you can see why that's useful. I'm going to expand this a little bit. You can see how many different operations exist in the program, from editing operations to moving gates to changing data and so on. So there are a lot of things, and sometimes it's going to be easier just to exclude permissions instead of include them. Okay, so I'll create the group No Rights, and the next thing I have to do is create a user. And that user will be called No Rights. So let's go to, or the user will be called, I guess, with a different name. So let's go into Security again and go to User Administration. I'm going to add a new user. The user will be called Unable, and the password, I'll just use a simple password. Open layouts, and for the groups, you can specify which groups this person is a part of. You can be a part of more than one group, and if you choose to make a user part of more than one group, they will have permissions on. They will combine the permissions. So they'll be able, if they're allowed to do something in one of the groups, they will be allowed to do that, even if it's not in the other of the groups that they belong to. So let's select No Rights, and let me edit this again, so Unable and Unable. And now what I'm going to do is log out. You can see on the bottom of the screen where it says logged in as admin, I'm going to click here and log out the current user. And it again shows me the login information, and I'll log in as Unable. And so I am allowed to log in, but as soon as I try to do anything else, I'll insert a text box, I get a message. The operation is not allowed for the current user. You do not have permission to insert the text box. And this message will be detailed based on what the user is not allowed to do. And continue, and anything else I want to do, if I want to format the page title, I cannot do that. Okay, so obviously this is just an example, but it shows you how the permissions work and what the error messages look like. And I will log out and log back in as the admin so we can go on and continue to work on the layout. And it seems like I have trouble typing the password. Okay, so let's come back into our security overview layout and back to my analysis page. The second kind of security permissions you can create are security for layouts, and these are called layout status definitions. And if I click on this, you can see that it looks identical to creating the security groups for users. The difference is going to be that they have slightly different groupings of permissions. And I will make a group now called Limited and show you how that works. You can see that in the list, we don't have all of the application level permissions that were on the or on the user groups. And there are some extra permissions that are on the layout groups that are not on the user groups. So if I make this limited, let's say include all permissions except what's below, and under gates, I don't want to be able to modify a gate. Okay, and so what you're going to see now is that you cannot change the gates on this layout. Okay, so now this is the limited group. I'm going to go and set this layout to use that limited group. And under info, so it's the layout info, we go to the layout options next. And under the layout group security access, right now it's completely unrestricted. I'm going to take that away and make it part of the limited group. And now when I try to move a gate, we get an error message. And the error message is that this operation is not allowed on this layout. And compare that to the previous message, which said that the operation was not allowed for that particular user. Okay, so the error message tells you exactly what you cannot do. And so let's just make this layout back to the previous status. So under layout options, we go back to security group, and again, we'll unrestrict everything. And now you can see that we can move the gate again. So the two kinds of security mechanisms let you restrict users. So you may have let you restrict users and let you restrict layouts. And you may have certain people in the organization whose responsibility it is to create new templates, other people whose responsibility it is just to analyze data or to approve data. And by playing with these permissions and setting up the appropriate permissions for everybody, you can have a controlled environment where people have access to do only what they're supposed to do. And when an auditor takes a look at your operations, you can show them exactly what people are allowed to do, and it's very locked down and controlled. And that's part of what the Part 11 is all about. With the layout groups, you may want to have groups in different stages of their lives with different sets of permissions. So for example, when a template is under development, you may want to be able to do everything. But when a template is in production, you may not, for example, want to let people delete alerts or delete batch processing actions. Now, I won't go in and explain right now what alerts and batch processing actions are. They're all part of other webinars. But you will be able to control what people can do when a layout is already in production. One thing that is new that I just wanted to highlight, because several people asked for it in previous releases, was that under the security group definitions, you can now export the list of permissions, and so you may want to be able to save this for your own procedures. You can export this in formats that can be read into other layouts, or simply export it as a readable format as a report so that you can store this with your documentation. We also make use of permissions in publishing. So several of you will be using publishing either as part of your clinical procedures or just to share analyses. And under Collaborate, if you go to Publish a Layout, you can select which permissions you want to be allowed on the published layout, and these will work exactly like a layout status group on the resulting layout. All right. So the next step, if there are no questions about those. No questions about the basic security and the permissions, I'm going to move into talking a little bit about the databases that are supported in FCS Express. So as you can see, my installation of FCS Express right now is a secure installation, and I can show that under File, Help, About. There's all the information here that shows that I have a counter code and a local database. So the local database is one of the two database options that we provide. On our website, we show These two options here, this is actually in our manual. So you have the manual as part of your installation, and as well, we always have a full copy of the manual on our website in an HTML format. So the two types of databases we support are SQL Server and the Elevate DB local server. Now these are very different pieces of technology. SQL Server is a robust database that's used all over the world by I have no idea how many tens of thousands or hundreds or millions of installations there are. It has very well-defined procedures for backing up and restoring and all of that. If you're using FCS Express in your production environment, I cannot stress enough that we recommend using SQL Server and setting it up with regular backups as part of your normal routine. Elevate DB is a very lightweight server. It can be used when you're playing and testing FCS Express, getting to know the security system. We do not recommend it for use in production. It has one very strong advantage in that it has zero configuration. And if you do need to back it up and restore, it's simply a folder that lives underneath the program folder. So, you know, it does work well, but for a production environment, we strongly recommend SQL Server. And for setting up your SQL Server, if you've used this in the past, in version 4 or version 3, you're going to be familiar with the FCS Edb Ini File. This is a text file that controls how the program connects to a database. Now, in past versions, it's only been a text file. We now have the option to encrypt it, and we can provide you a tool that will encrypt it so you don't have to keep the connection information in plain text. The connection information in the INI file is actually a standardized connection string. It looks a little bit cryptic, but it is a standard connection string, and that is understood by the SQL Server drivers. And so again, when you get into the implementation phase, we can help you understand what to do here and how to set this up. Are there any questions about the choice of databases or security systems? Okay, so I'm going to move back in and talk a little bit about the audit trails. I mentioned it before as part of the Part 11 compliance. And as part of locking everything down on your analyses, we actually track everything that you do on the layout. So under File, then Info, you see a big button that's called Layout History. And this layout history is a sequential look at everything that's happened to this layout. So when I moved the gate just a minute ago, it will tell you exactly where the gate was moved from and where the gate was moved to. And not only that, because when we moved the gate, the text box moved with it, it also includes information about the text box move. So again, if you're in a situation where auditors are asking if you have you know, everything under control and you know exactly what's happening to the analysis, then you have it right here. You have all of the details of what's happening to your analysis. And everything is stored, the name of what's happened, the name of the person who did it, and the date and the timestamp, and the details of what happened. And you can export this as a PDF as well. And that is going to track everything that you do, whether it's moving gates, changing fonts, and moving, you know, doing electronic signatures, and so on. And even when you undo, if I undo that previous gate move, then when I come back under Info and View Layout History, you can see at the very bottom, I've undone the gate move. One of the other things that I talked about briefly before was the fact that you can have security policies. And under the security menu, if you go to Edit Security Configuration, you can configure things like how long passwords last for, and how many times a user can log in before they're automatically logged out. And this again supports Part 11 and supports whatever your internal security policies are. You can prohibit passwords from being used, and you can also set up that people can be automatically logged out if they've been idle for a certain amount of time, and this will help you rescue licenses that may be otherwise taken by somebody who's not currently sitting at their computer. As an administrator to the system, you can also set yourself up to be notified by certain events. So for example, if somebody is not allowed to log in because they've failed too many times, instead of waiting for that person to complain, you can let yourself be notified. You just put the email to notify here and click on which notifications you're interested in. You'll need to, so this uses email to notify, so you'll need to set up an SMTP server. This is just an outgoing mail server. You can use an internal one or an external one. You can use one that has encryption and security on it. You can use one that doesn't even require logins. Whatever, fill in all the details here and whatever ports and whatever authentication type you need, and then it'll send you notifications when whichever of these events that you're interested in happens. So as I mentioned before, that you could log out people that were logged in for too long based on idle time. You can also go and do that specifically if you want to pick someone to log out. Under User Administration, there's a button called Show Active Logins. And when I click on that button, it gives you a list of everyone who's logged in. And you can see that it shows you that under the login name admin, the Windows user who's logged in is Daniel, so that's me on my computer, and what my IP address is and when I started. And if I want to kick this person out, I can just select their name and then go to Logout. Once you do that, they will get a pop-up message on their computer saying you have been logged out. You cannot do any actions other than save. So at that point, when a user has been logged out of the security system, they are able to save their analysis and whatever they're working on, but they can't keep working. All they can do is save and close the program. We have other reports as well that you can take a look at. So under Security, under Reports, you can find out all of the people whose login has failed. And you can see there are two items in this report here from when earlier in this presentation I was trying to log in and put in a wrong password. And it's, again, gathered the information, the date and time, and I can export this, filter it, and so on. And you can collect reports of whatever event, how many people are logged in, and so on, and keep track of the usage of your system. The last piece that I wanted to talk about today is electronic signatures. And so with all of this, all of the stuff I've showed you so far lets you lock down layouts, control who is able to do what, and keep track of who did what using the audit trails. The electronic signatures allow you to actually put your stamp on it and say, okay, this layout has passed this particular state and we're ready to continue. And like everything else in our security system, we're not going to give you a direct procedure to follow to make it work. You can adapt electronic signatures to your own workflow. In this particular layout, what I've done under Info, under Digital Signatures, if we look at the signature list, I've created 3 signatures. And this may be useful for the way you work, it may not be useful. But the idea here is that we have one signature for template approved, one signature for the analysis being completed, and another for an analysis being approved. And the template approved would simply mean that somebody has designed this template and it's ready for use with patients or in whatever format you want to use it, but that it's ready to go. And beside a signature, you you can control which user groups are allowed to sign it. You can give a little description, and of course the signature name. And so template approved, analysis completed, and then analysis approved, they all can have different people that are allowed to sign them. If we actually want to complete our analysis, I'll just fix the gate and say, okay, this analysis is ready to go. What I can do is under Info again, under Digital Signatures, I'll click on Sign. And when I click on Sign, I get a window that looks very similar to the signature list, only I can't edit anything, I can simply sign it. So I click on which signature is currently unsigned, and I type in the notes. This analysis is complete. And if you have any special notes you want to put here, you can do that. And when I click on Sign, it's going to ask me for my password. Hopefully I will remember the password this time. And if you were noticing below, the text in this text box changed. All right, this had been blank before, and the analysis complete used to say unsigned, and now it says signed. And what these are is these are tokens that tell you what the state of the signatures are. And you can use this to see at a glance of where your layout is in production and in usage. You can see what time it was signed at. You can see what comment someone added when they signed it. And you can go further, and you can use these signature tokens in an alert, for example. So if you do not want to start batch processing until someone has approved it, you can create an alert based on the analysis approved token. And when the analysis approved token is signed, then it will allow you to run batch processing. But all of this is open for however you want to use it. You can create your own procedures using the tools that we give you with electronic signatures. And if you simply want to see the list of electronic signatures and what their state is, then like I have this table here, you can easily insert a table like this on your own. You can insert a text box, right-click, and say Insert Signature Table. And this gives you all the information, and you can format the table in any way you like. And it will, give you what you need to see at a glance. If, while you're working with signatures, you've decided that it was actually a mistake to sign it, you can unsign them. When I go to File, Info, Digital Signatures, Unsign, it will again ask me which one I want to unsign, and I click on it. It'll ask me again for my password, and the state changed back to unsigned. As you would expect, all of that signature activity is captured in the layout history. And when I scroll down here, it tells me what happened with my signatures. Okay, so it's a very powerful and flexible tool to fit into your workflow and let you really keep track of what state your layout's in. At this point, I will stop again for questions. We've covered all of the topics that I wanted to cover today in the security overview. If you have any questions now, please go ahead and type them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. Okay, and if you didn't have a chance or questions come up later, please do not hesitate to ask us. You can send your email to support@denovosoftware.com. We will be happy to answer any questions you have and help you get started. When you start with the security system, usually it takes a little bit more work back and forth to get going, and we'll be happy to help you with your SQL Server and help you understand the permissions and see what you can do. And of course, this webinar will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube site, and you will be able to find them on our website under, if you go back to our homepage, it'll be located under recorded webinars. And this is where we keep a list of all of the webinars that we're doing for version 5. And not only can you look at this one, but you can look at any other topics that you're going to be interested in. Okay, so thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll contact us with any questions, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.